Good Monday morning, everyone. I hope the video has started. I want you to take a very close look at this image here. Uh, it's the Hermetic Rose Cross. It's the most complete version of a cross, rose cross that many of you are probably familiar with already. But it's got all the doodads on it. It's got the alchemical elements in the little trifolds there at the end of the arms. It's got the I.N.R.Is and the LVXs and the EAOs in the barbs of the rose bush there in the back. It's got the 4 pentagrams surrounded by the 5 elements. And of course, it's got a dot in the middle and a little rose of 5 petals and a little cross surrounded by 22 petal rows in layers of 3 for the 3 mother letters, 7 for the 7 double letters, and 12 for the 12 simple letters of the Hebrew alphabet. Now, I joined the Rosicrucian order AMWORC many, many years ago, around 1971, I believe. And I was active in my local lodge there in Long Beach, and I enjoyed my little introduction. AMWORC broke my mystical hymen, I guess we could say, and of course, their image or their one of their main images is this Hermetic Rose Cross, and so to help me learn the Hebrew alphabet and other things all at once, I decided to paint the Rose Cross, or I used colored inks, and in those days you actually had to buy liquid ink with a pen and do that whole thing on poster board. And there's this beautiful, beautiful Hermetic Rose Cross, a colored version of this right there, hanging from the outside of the temple door, the inner temple door at our lodge there in Long Beach. And it was about 4 foot tall. I mean, it was really a big, beautiful painted wooden rose cross. And after a few weeks of painting those rose crosses at home or inking them, I was feeling pretty much an expert on what that all was about, and which Hebrew letters went where and what colors were supposed to be where, and so I was waxing sort of eloquent outside the temple door one Sunday afternoon before convocation, and I was pointing out how those petals are really the Hebrew alphabet, and the 7 double letters. I was learning this stuff all at once, you know. And the past master, who was it looked like Ward Bond. Okay, he was just such gravitas. This gray-haired old man had with steely eyes and bushy eyebrows. He was just the classic adept, you know. And everyone was kind of scared of this guy. And I was talking about the Rose Cross with younger people, and he said, "You've just beheld the earliest rays." and you got no argument with me. There's just, come with me. And I thought, oh God, he's going to throw me into the outer darkness here. And he takes me outside the building. Okay, and down the street, this is Long Beach Boulevard, which is a pretty busy street. And his car was parked on the street about a half a block down. And I said, oh God, he's going to take me for a ride and I'm never coming back. And he stops at his car and he goes to the trunk, opens up the trunk, and in the trunk is a brown, like a satchel. It's not an overnight case, but it's bigger than a briefcase. And he opens it up and he takes out this beautiful sort of a purple, deep purple satin bag with a gold tie. And he reaches in it and he pulls out a hermetic rose cross. I mean, he pulls that, only it's gold. Well, I can tell it's gold because it spun around and I could see the back and there was things written on the back. But when it spun around to the front, every one of those lines that you see on this diagram was made of gold wire. Every line was raised gold wire. And every petal of the rose was filled with enamel, colored enamel that was filled to the over the meniscus so that they were raised so that they looked like individual jewels. And the Hebrew letters were painted on over that enamel. And everything was colored just the way it was supposed to be colored, only in enamel. And every line that stood up was three-dimensional gold wire. It was awesome. Okay. If he did that and it spun around on its ribbon and flashed in the afternoon sun, if he did that for effect to blow a young mystic's mind, I mean young mystic, I'm like 27. It worked. Okay. He says, that's the rosy cross. And you have now just beheld the earliest rays. And when he said that inside the temple before he went out and showed me this thing, I almost laughed because he said it so dramatically. And so that's why I thought he was going to punish me, took me outside, you know. But then I knew he meant it. And, well, I thought I'd share that with you. I want to share really something rare with you. And with the internet now, I'm sure you can download this for free any place, but it's a pretty rare little pamphlet. And the official, and this is obviously a first edition. It's almost 100 years old. The title is I.N.R.I. de MYSTERIIS ROSAE RUBRAE et AUREAE CRUCIS by one whose number is 777. Wherein, under the form of an admonition to an adeptus minor of the R.R. et A.C., is disclosed the true symbolism of the rosy cross for the enlightenment of those who are worthy of the same. Published for the Collegium ad Spiritum Sanctum by New Aeon Publishing Company, Chicago, Illinois. Copyright 1924 by C. Stanfield Jones. That's Frédéric Cod. That Cod means one. And his number is 777. Chicago, International Copyrights, all rights reserved. It's in red ink and black. It was a beautiful, beautiful image when it was new. This was given to me by Helen Parsons Smith. It's not signed or anything, but it's very rare. I'd like to share it with you. I.N.R.I. de MYSTERIIS ROSAE RUBRAE et AUREAE CRUCIS. Mark well, O my son, and give heed unto this my counsel and advice. O thou who hast for the first time this day beheld the mysteries of the red rose, upon sparkleth the dew, and the golden cross from which cometh the light of the world. Now, I'll digress for a moment, because he is assuming that you have just passed through the portal ritual of the Golden Dawn. And that you've been awarded this as your 5=6 Adeptus Minor jewel. So the portal ritual, and that ritual is awesome. And there's a vault involved, and there's all sorts of wonderful things. And he's going to make reference to those events in that ritual in this pamphlet. So some of the things may just be something for you to, if you're unfamiliar with the ceremony, something to tantalize you. And if you are familiar with the ritual, you'll be able to juxtapose his words against those elements of the ritual. Is not this the symbol to be found on the breast of all true brethren of the Rosy Cross? Hold fast to this jewel and treasure it as thy life itself, for many and great are its virtues, and of these I will now discourse to you in part. Know then, O my son, that there be many crosses, and that the symbolism of these varieth according to the art of the wise, which give them due proportion. So, too, are to be found roses whose petals signify a 5-fold, and a 22-fold, and a 49-fold order. These again may seem to be united or divided in whole or in part, yet each symbol concealeth its aspect of the one secret most perfectly, according to the understanding of the true seeker after LVX. Now, in a literary device that I just absolutely love, Crowley does this, these marginal notes here along the side. There. Okay. And what, right here it says ROS, and here it says the one secret. Okay, now this paper is very thick, so I have to be very careful, and it's very old. It would seem in these latter days that the true light hath been much darkened and obscured, so that even the most ignorant impostors have heard our motto, Omnia ab uno, which signifieth how all cometh from one. and have thought that all roses and crosses be alike and of equal virtue. Yet hereon they err gravely, which error hath been apparent in the strange confusion which at this time prevaileth, so that their words have become as a great babble, even as it was in old time to the great hurt of the human race. And even though our father, Christian Rosenkreutz, and our ancient brethren, his heirs and successors, did much to restore the order of the universe and the power of the word therein, yet such is the darkness in which men live, and in such confusion, that it is now upon us, that it were indeed time that the true brothers should again extend the light of the cross, if so be a spark, to the true fire yet burns brightly within them. Marginal note LVX. Unto you, O my son, into whom that fire burns, I would be as a bellows to fan the flame into a great burning which shall illumine the darkness wherein thou walkest, so that from a flickering rushlight thou mayest become as a lamp of pure oil, and that lamp may shine forth as ever-burning star of hope to thy fellow men. For this reason I will discourse to you, not of the cross of suffering to which thou wert bound, and upon which thou tookest thine obligation on behalf of the universe, that obligation which every clause of which containeth a secret reference to a holy Sephiroth, the emanations of the one from whom cometh all. It was a 10-part obligation, a 10-part oath that was taken while you were hanging on a cross. Okay. Very, very dramatic moment. It impresses one. But that would be telling, so keep that to yourself. But rather that great and complete symbol of the rose cross concealed within thy breast, upon the back of which is engraved Magister Jesus Christus, Deus est homo, benedictus Dominus Deus noster, qui didit nobis signum, and thy mystic name, as a frater of R.R. at AC. And that was what was inscribed on the back of that plain gold cross on the back of the cross that spun around in the sunlight in Long Beach that day. There are also alchemical symbols on the back. But it is of the face of the cross that I would chiefly discourse unto thee, for wearing it upon thy breast thou art become as the sun, who seeth not his own face, yet giveth the light of his countenance to the just and to the unjust with equal love and blessing. What is it then that I see upon thy breast, O my son? In the center of all is a single point of light, whose starry brilliance blinds these eyes, for it is even as Hadit. Now, I'm going to do some juggling here. First of all, there's the rose cross, and way in the center is that dot, a white dot in the middle of the little rose that's nailed to the little cross. DuQuette says something about it in The Magic of, or The Understanding Aleister Crowley's Thoth Tarot. As a matter of fact, I show how we build the rose cross from that point outward. In the Harris painting, it's almost impossible to see the minute white point at the heart of the tiny rose at the very center of the design. If it's not there, it should be. The white point symbolizes the shining point of pure existence, without size, and as yet without position. Okay, I go on for page after page about that too. But for this exquisite little piece, Frederick Codd says, "In the center of all is a single point of light whose starry brilliance blinds these eyes, for it is even as Hadit, thy secret self at the center of thy being. It is unique, thy one secret, which thou sharest with the one, not with the many. It is thy true name, the word which brought thee into being, whose echo thou now art, and will be to the end. This I know, for such a word and such a light dwelleth in me, and I in him. It is also that word which is writ in the white cubic stone, but for each it is different, and no man may know it but he who possesseth it." Okay? Now, the next section there is that cubic stone. And I show how that symbolism of the white cubic stone that forms actually that singularity, that point of being that we share with all points of being. And the singularity itself is seen as a cubic stone. And a cubic stone, a stone is, or a cube is made by three directions. Well, we'll get to that, maybe. Around and illumined by the central light is a rose of 5 petals. It is the star of unconquered will, the will of the one light and word of thy being, as it comes into manifestation in matter. It is the sign of man, the microcosm, who mirrors through his 5 senses the great rose of creation. This rose lives indeed, and the green barbs which have opened to display it are still bright with color as they extend in 4 directions, each harmonizing and bringing to a point 2 of the elements from which it was made. That's so cool. And we're still just talking about that tiny rose in the center with its 4 barbs. We're not talking about the big I.N.R.I things yet. This rose sparkles on a cross of gold, and though crucified thereon, to its glory and suffering are identical. This cross is of 6 squares, the unfolded cube. So that cube pops open like popcorn and turns into the little cross. This cross is of 6 squares, an unfolded cube. It is that same white stone wherein the true name was concealed, yet open as a cross in order that it may be known as a living stone, that it may be displaying the secret of life itself. With its arms it showeth forth the LVX, which is the light of the cross. Its sacrifice discloseth the rose of love, and the supreme act of revealment declareth its own essential liberty. Thus we find light, life, love, and liberty in the very heart of man, while concealed behind all are the words Deus est homo. So in other words, if you flip that rose cross around, Deus est homo is written on the backside right behind that small rose in the center of that small cross. And of course, if you put 4 capital L's together, arrange them like a cutout, they form a cross. And as L is enumerates to 30, the 4 L's, life, life, love, liberty, and the cross itself, unfolded cube, all of that, is 120. And 120 is the years that Christian Rosenkreuz lays dormant before the tomb is once again opened and the light returned to the world. 120 is a big number in Kabbalah. This, O my son, I behold on. And it was capitalized. The word on was capitalized, oddly. This, O my son, I behold on the center of thy jewel. But even as thou art but a tiny image of the all, so this is but a tiny image concealed within the heart of a greater rose, wherein it shines forth as a gleam of red gold. Now, in the marginal notes, on the same line where that on was curiously capitalized, it says ON equals 120. Okay. This is a very short pamphlet, okay, but it's not short enough for us to finish in one sitting, and I know you've all got your week to get on with, and I took up so much time with my stupid little story at the very beginning. I apologize for that, but we will pick up here tomorrow at the same time, hopefully, and we'll continue our examination of the Hermetic Rose Cross. Remember, we're starting at the very center of the cross, and we're moving our camera out. And we've just gotten to what I call the Rose Cross of being, which is that unfolded cube, the 5-petaled rose, and those barbs, okay? All growing out of that center. Anyway, that's it for today. Continue to be good to yourself and be good to each other. I promise you very shortly I'm going to get a haircut and a beard trim so I don't look like that shaggy old man of the sea. But I thank you for putting up with my grizzled look during these pandemic cold workshop days. Until tomorrow, continue to be good to yourself and be good to each other. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Love is the law, love under will.